everyone, and thanks for joining us on this midweek edition of Inside Africa. We begin from Cameroon, where an interministerial meeting for proposing the modality of putting in place a follow-up committee for the control of cooperation ties between Cameroon and Unit 8 has taken place in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. The meeting took place under the patronage of the Minister of Public Health, André Fuda. AFRIQUEMEDIA has the details.
Unit 8 is the fruit of the initiative of former French President Jacques Chirac, which was hailed by the international community on the occasion of the International Conference on Financial Innovations for Development on February 28 to March 2006 in Paris. This initiative has as mission to support national and international institutions in effort in the fight against certain killer diseases and to play a complementary role in national and international institutions. This aid is out to provide antiretroviral drugs, anti-malaria and anti-tuberculosis drugs for member countries. Cameroon was one of the first African countries to become member on July 5, 2006. The Minister of Public Health, André Fuda, explains the implication of such an initiative. It should be reiterated that more than 70 countries are members of the initiative, notably Chile, United Kingdom, Netherlands, France, Brazil, just to name but these. It is for this reason that the Prime Minister and Head of Government in 2006 marked his approval for the putting in place of a commission in Cameroon to verify the activities of the cooperation between Cameroon and Unit 8. This committee is made up of representatives from the Ministry of Finance and Public Health. They are charged with the responsibilities of identifying susceptible resources and affected areas in Cameroon.
Now, the governments of Cameroon and Congo are examining strategies to improve on transport conditions and infrastructure to ease business transactions between both countries. A meeting of trade and transport ministers from the two countries was organized in Yaoundé on Tuesday, 6th month. Tells us more.
Officials of the governments of Cameroon and Congo started working at the Yaoundé Conference Center at about 10 a.m. on Tuesday, July 23. The officials included government authorities from the Ministry of Trade, External Relations, and that of Transport from both countries. Robert Kili, Cameroon's Minister of Transport, explains the importance of this session to both countries, which share a common frontier.
It's important to try to know what we have to do, not only to wait for a problem, for difficulties. Okay, we have many sectors. We have railway sector, we have plant sector, we have road sector, and so on and so on. Not forget maritime sector. Okay, we have to implement a new vision. We want to consolidate our transport, our relationship between Cameroon and Congo.
Robert Kili headed the Cameroonian delegation, while the Congolese minister delegate in charge of trade led the delegation from his country. According to Kili, this meeting is the first but not the last, for these two countries need a platform to ease problem solving when it comes to resolving transport problems and developing infrastructural development of air, rail, road, and maritime transport.
Over in Ghana, the Eastern Regional Minister, Mrs. Helen Toso, has assured the Orthopedic Training Center at Ajo Ajare in the Eastern region of the government's support. The center, which was set up in 1965 to manufacture orthopedic appliances needed for the physically challenged in the country, is itself faced with challenges relating to accommodation and finance.
The Eastern Regional Minister, Mrs. Helen Toso, who was on tour of some development projects within the Nsawam Adweju municipality, was impressed with the work of the Orthopedic Training Center. Many children have benefited from their stay at the center. They have not only learned to walk, but are given the opportunity to attend school. The center produces orthopedic shoes, shoe prostheses, leg braces, artificial legs and arms, and splints. The orthopedic services of the center have been extended to some contact stations throughout the country. These include hospitals.
From Ghana, we take you to Nigeria, where in an effort to produce a conducive working environment at the grassroots level, Taraba State government has donated buses to each of the 16 local government legislative councils in the state. The state acting governor, Alhaji Garba Umar, while donating the buses in Jalingo, asked the legislative councils to use them judiciously by enacting laws that will improve the living standards of the rural dwellers.
Presenting the keys of the buses to the Taraba State Algon chairman, the acting governor Alhaji Garba Umar said the buses are meant for the legislative members to ease their logistic problem in the course of carrying out their duties.
Buses were legislated for them to perform effectively, and I believe we will not find them wanting.
Earlier, the special advisor to the governor on local government and chieftaincy affairs, Alhaji Marafa Bashir Abba, stressed that the donation made by the state government is to reciprocate the effort of the local government council in providing dividends of democracy to their people. He added that the state government, concerns for the plight of rural dwellers, is going to do everything possible to support the legislative council to work for the betterment of the rural communities.
These buses are not meant for other purposes, it's meant for official functions.
Responding on behalf of the beneficiaries, the state Algon chairman, Azumi Abu, who is the chairman of Wukari local government, appreciated the effort of the government for giving the attention to the need of the masses. In Jalingo.
Moving on, the United Nations has commended Guinea's government for trying to restore calm after more than 50 people were killed in fighting between tribes over the last week. Guinea is the world's biggest exporter of bauxite, the main source of aluminium, but the increase in tensions could threaten multi-million-dollar contracts with a number of international mining companies.
Mahwa and Makura are in mourning. Their husband, a Muslim from the Konyanke tribe, was hacked to death. They blame the Gareze, an ethnic group which is mainly Christian. For years, the two tribes and two religions have lived in peace, but not anymore.
We want justice. We want those responsible for crime to be judged. But we also want peace. We can't go on cutting and killing each other.
A week ago, the death of a young Konyanke man sent mobs from both tribes onto the streets. They attacked churches, mosques and many homes. Officials say at least 50 people died, but locals insist that some people, including children, are still missing. The government has sent soldiers here to stop the fighting, but admits there's little it can do.
We are now restructuring, making a new army, a new police, a new gendarmerie, like we say in French, and all those actions makes that we are not able to deal with all the situation when they arise in the same time.
That's not good news for the international mining firms operating here. Guinea has one of the biggest untapped deposits of iron ore in the world, but half of people here live on less than $1 a day. This man, President Alpha Condé, came to power in 2010. He's backed by the West and the United Nations, but the opposition says he doesn't represent Guineans.
They no longer trust the security forces, the administration and the justice system, so people tend to take justice into their own hands.
People in Nzerekore feel shame and also anger about what happened. They now have a choice: reconciliation and peace, or more violence, which will impact on the whole region.
Now, a top UN delegation has visited Somalia's port city of Kismayo. UN officials have pledged to continue their support for the victims of the latest round of violence in the city. Dozens of people have so far lost their lives due to rivalries between two warring clans.
The UN Humanitarian Coordination Office for Somalia says many people are without adequate access to food, clean water and healthcare in the Somali port town of Kismayo. Felipe Lazzarini has also warned of the consequences of a power struggle there. The UN says rivalries between clan militias allied to two powerful warlords have so far claimed the lives of 70 people and left hundreds more injured. While visiting the city, Lazzarini has vowed to continue UN support for the victims of the violence there.
I just visited the hospital of Kismayo. It has been absolutely remarkable, I mean, the way this situation has been dealt by the local civil society here, and I told them that the UN and the international organization will continue their support.
The victims of the recent clashes are receiving treatment at the Kismayo General Hospital that is already struggling to cope despite serious shortage of medical supplies. Mohamed Jama is one of the victims. He is nursing gunshot wounds at the hospital.
The hospital does not have medication and does not have doctors, but we have nowhere else to go.
A rapid food security and nutrition assessment carried out in Kismayo in March showed that half of the families were food insecure. Nearly half of the children also have no access to education.
We want aid agencies to come to our rescue. We don't have proper shelters, and all we hope for is that aid agencies will come to Kismayo now that it's safe for them to bring in aid.
No permanent homes, no food aid. There is no one bringing us help. We want the government and the UN to assist us as the forgotten displaced people in Kismayo.
The United Nations recently launched a 3-year humanitarian appeal for Somalia. According to the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the appeal for 2013 is $1.3 billion for 369 humanitarian projects targeting 3.8 million Somalis in need.
Let's now take you to Kenya, where we talk education. Public school students will have to forego a week of the usual August holiday as schools seek to recover learning time lost in the recently ended teachers' strike. Education stakeholders meeting in Nairobi reserved students will break for only 2 weeks next month to create a time to cover the syllabus, even as a World Bank report blames chronic absenteeism by teachers for poor results among students.
After 3 weeks of helplessly watching their teachers go on strike, finally children in public schools are back to class just like their peers in private schools. While their teachers were on strike, private school students continued learning uninterrupted. Less teaching time will likely disadvantage public school students, especially in preparing for national exams, unless they make up for the lost time. How the lost time will be recovered was the subject of a stakeholders meeting at the Ministry of Education headquarters, which brought together the 47 county directors of education, representatives of the teachers' unions, the private sector, the civil society, and the religious community. And here, they came up with a solution that was agreeable to all.
The best way is to extend second and third terms by 1 week each, so that our second term will extend from 6th May to 16th of August next month. That term will extend from 2nd of September to 22nd of November. What happens to the third week? The schools will make internal arrangements to take care of that.
This alteration will not affect the private schools that will therefore proceed with the original school calendar, no doubt, without straining, as their colleagues may have to.
The other thing which we have agreed is that the exams will not be affected in any way. Some of you also were asking whether co-curricular activities will be affected. The answer is no.
A major consideration raised by the teachers' unions during the meeting was that some teachers have only the holiday breaks to advance their levels of education. Despite this noble excuse, a recent World Bank survey indicates that only 35% of teachers have mastery of the subjects they teach. While this raises concern over the quality of education they therefore impart to children, there is an even more serious concern: are children being taught? There are indications that children in public schools may be getting a raw deal from their teachers if World Bank Service Delivery Indicators report is anything to go by. The survey shows that teachers are often absent from duty, albeit usually on authorized leave, and when present, spend limited time teaching. A key finding is that 16% of teachers in public schools are absent from school, and a total of 47% are absent from class at any given time, meaning that there are those who are present in school but miss their lessons. The level of absenteeism in private schools is lower, but not by a bigger margin. Apparently 13% are absent from school and 34% are absent from class at any given time. Though not significant, this difference results in public school children receiving up to 20 days less teaching time per term. Unless this behavior stops, poor student performance will be recorded for a long time to come.
We are now in Uganda, where thousands of birds that have been eating up fields of grain in the eastern part of the country have been killed. The move may have been welcomed by farmers, but environmentalists are angry.
They were considered the human version of terrorists in Kapchora, Kwen district, when they almost ate dry 1,000 acres of sorghum in a period of 2 weeks early this month. It is now believed that the birds flew south to Wujiri district and onto rice fields at Kibimba, where Tilda rice is grown.
A lot of damage is being done by these birds.
They are losing about 1.5 metric tons. That is approximately 1,500 kilograms of rice per day.
They are known as Quelea birds.
Quelea birds actually haunt the rest of Africa south of the Sahara, and we need to be prepared always to control them.
Their control has resulted into the death of about 2 million birds.
But there are so many other birds that are relatively innocent, that are actually not eating rice. You spray the whole scheme, you are actually going to kill many species, even including those that are useful in maintaining the ecosystem.
But should the Quilleas be exterminated because they are pests?
No, it's not particularly okay to kill it. It's management. You just need to manage your farm in such a way that these birds will have their own life to live, and also you can produce your...
However, the supervisor tells us that they have tried in vain. The scarecrows are human, about 200 of them. And this is what they do, constantly warding off the birds with flag-like hits.
Actually, we start in the morning at around 6, and we close our work very late in the evening at around 7 p.m.
And they know how to dodge the human scarecrows until evening when they go to rest.
And each day they earn about 3,000. So that's already a very big expense. And even when they are here, the birds are very stubborn. When they are hungry, you cannot chase them away.
Despite this, Nature Uganda emphasizes the fact that man has destroyed most bird sanctuaries in wetland areas in eastern Uganda for rice growing.
Where are they now? They are living on marginal habitats. So now if you come and grow rice, so there is likelihood that this wildlife is going to come and attack your rice.
This is easy prey for the birds.
And as we continue to degrade habitats in Uganda, we are going to continue having these problems. It's because our policy has not been very smart that we can actually live with wildlife and at the same time encourage such production.
Ashley says that there should be arrests.
No one is allowed to kill any bird. It is illegal, at least based on the Wildlife Act, to kill any species without any permit. So if you just go out and kill birds, I've seen police all around town. They should go and pick those guys.
The operation was ironically supervised by the Ministry of Agriculture by officials from the Crop Protection Department in charge of pests and disease control.
We are working with the Ministry of Agriculture. This is a government operation. This aircraft belongs to the government.
By nature of these pests, they must be controlled controlled using aerial spraying.
Well, to Nature Uganda, these dates could lead to food shortage in eastern Uganda.
Pollination in Uganda is done measured by 3 species. It is bees, it is bats, it is birds.
Besides pollinating the crops, they help boost tourism. It is now emerging that residents in eastern Uganda have taken to eating birds.
The problem is how they catch the birds to eat them. They poison them. So you poison the birds and then eat them. So it's not only killing birds, but eventually you are going to start seeing a completely big health problem.
Let's take you now to the north of the continent, where Egyptians have been keeping the rituals and traditions of the fasting month of Ramadan alive despite the political turmoil that has gripped the country. The following report tells us how Egyptians on both ends of the political spectrum are united in their resolve to celebrate this holy month wholeheartedly.
Egyptians are religious people by nature, is a saying that many here in Egypt hold to be true. Ramadan is the time for spirituality and worship, and the mosques of Egypt overflow every year with devout Muslims carrying out the duties of the month. But this year, as the holy month comes in the midst of political turmoil, many are feeling that it is their duty to participate in political rallies and to stand for what they believe is best for the country. Signs of the holy month can be seen during the protests. Several iftar or breakfast gatherings were organized in Tahrir Square by Tamarud, the youth movement that helped launch the June 30th protests. The purpose of the gathering was to call on all Egyptians in spirit of the holy month to stand together throughout the difficult times the country is facing.
In Rabaa, where pro-Morsi supporters have gathered for weeks calling for the reinstatement of the toppled president, prayers for support from God don't stop. The mostly Islamic protesters carry out the duties of Ramadan, as well as participating in day-long marches.
In Rabaa, where pro-Morsi supporters have gathered for weeks, calling for the reinstatement of the toppled president, prayers for support from God don't stop. The mostly Islamic protesters carry out the duties of Ramadan from fasting to praying, as well as participating in day-long marches and other protest activities.
That we are coming first for our religion. We are Muslim people coming today to say something, that the Sharia is a first religion and a very principle, something for everybody who come here today.
They say that defending their country and what they believe to be their rights during the holy month makes them more determined and gives them greater faith that God will help them face injustice. The violence that has been going on in Egypt between the pro- and anti-Morsi camps has been upsetting to most Egyptians. Many Egyptians feel that the violence which is claiming the lives of their fellow countrymen should be replaced with peaceful means of protest. They insist this is the only way which can ensure the country will not slip into a longer internal conflict.
That report from Egypt brings us to the end of this edition of the program. Thanks for being there and keep watching AFRIQUEMEDIA for more news.